With version 1.6 we are getting a free Pulchra, and that includes you, the viewer, as well. And I promise you she will be a fantastic addition to your account. In fact, she is much better than most have been giving her credit for, but with a catch. Not only that, but even Nekomata got a buff, and that buff is Pulchra. But it isn't just Neko who Pulchra is really good for, so let's talk about her kit and how she plays, her best weapons, disk drives and disk drive sets, her combos, her main and substats, her teams and Mindscapes, and lastly, let's also talk about her pros and cons. Welcome, I am Rivenous and this is your complete guide to Pulchra Fellini. Pulchra is a physical stunner who excels at providing off-field daze and buffing your teammates aftershock damage. Until Mindscape 6 that is, at which point she will buff all types of damage. Half of Pulchra's kit you will literally never even use once, which also means she is actually very cheap to build for a stunner and invest into, and if you are a sucker for the likes of Jane, Nekomata, Harumasa or our newest S-rank Soldier Zero Anby, Pulchra is a unit worth investing into. Let's quickly cover her kit. You will never use her basics or dodge, so let's skip them. Her chain and ultimate do what a chain and ultimate do, so we will skip the explanation of deals damage and inflicts daze as well. Her assist is an evasive assist and plays an integral part in her kit and gameplay, but so does her chain technically, so let's talk about her core skill instead. Whenever Pulchra uses an EX special, assist follow-up, chain attack or ultimate, she will enter the Hunter's Gate state. Entering said state will fill up her resource bar, that are these triangles right here, increase her damage dealt by 30% for 6 seconds and trigger a quick assist for your previous character. While in the state, if any other character not named Pulchra uses a special or EX special once and deals heavy attack damage doing so, she then will start attacking the enemies from off-field up to 6 times every time any character attacks. I want to emphasize that the special or EX special condition is a one-time condition. You do not have to use 6 specials or 6 EX specials. A single one is enough for her to start listening whether or not you are attacking. To give you a visual on how this works and looks, let's have a look at some Neko Pulchra gameplay. We start off with an evasive assist into assist follow-up to get Pulchra into her hunting state, which then will now also fill her resource, then quick assist back to Neko. One EX special on Neko and now Pulchra will start dashing around until she is out of her resource, passively applying daze while we can stay on Neko and do cat stuff. When her resource is empty, we repeat this process. Generally speaking, especially Neko and Jane teams feel extremely fluent and fun to play with Pulchra. Anyway, this is honestly the entire gameplay plan of Pulchra, and while it is relatively simple in itself, the constant switching back and forth to trigger evasive assists to maintain her resource is honestly super fun to play. Even more so when paired with Neko that is, or at least that has been my impression. To quickly finish up her kit, her EX special exists and will need to be used to refresh her state when the enemies are less aggressive and mostly prompt red flashes instead of golden ones. Outside of that, I would honestly still recommend to use her EX simply because it is incredibly fast and applies a fair amount of daze. She is a stunner after all. Lastly, for her additional ability, if you do basically anything with her, she will increase the target's aftershock damage received by 30%. This changes at M6, but more on that later. To trigger this effect, you require either an attack or Sons of Caledon character. And honestly, both conditions are relatively easy to fulfill, which opens up quite a bit of teams for her. Let's quickly summarize how she plays. Switch her in using an evasive assist or use her EX special, chain or ultimate to activate her state. Quick assist back to your previous character and then use one special or EX special on any character not named Pulchra, and then you profit. One last note, switching to Pulchra will clear her current state and hence also all resources she has. That means do not switch into her unless you have her EX special or ultimate up or you are using an evasive assist. For her skill priority, as a stunner she cares mostly about her daze and hence we want to focus on the skills she uses. Means we want to focus first and foremost on her core skill, special and assist, and lastly her chain. We want to make sure to max out these skills, and we do not want to invest any resources into her basic or dodge. Again, we will never use them. For her combos, well, we honestly kinda went over them already, but here you go anyway, just so my editor has a little bit more work to do. Evasive assist into assist follow-up into quick assist. Alternatively, you can use her EX special or ultimate. Before we get to her weapons, as a Zenless Zone Zero content creator, I am obligated to remind you to like the video, subscribe, ring the bell, enjoy some nitro fuel and glaze Burnice in the comments. Thank you. For her weapons, her signature weapon, the new and shiny box cutter, fares honestly really well on her, even at rank 0 in both days and damage. While a steam oven at R5 can be slightly ahead in terms of days, I often found myself not actively using the EX special against aggressive enemies, which diminishes its value by a bit. Hellfire Gears is a solid choice as well, and while again slightly ahead in terms of days, it is lower in terms of damage dealt. TLDR basically, if you have her signature even at R0, use that one, it's really good for her. Yo, post-editing riff here. I missed Blazing Laurel in the initial calculation, so there you go. It is actually her best weapon if you have it. A quick thanks and a shout out to Jay Stern for pointing this out to me. For her disk drive sets, a 4-piece Protopunk or a 4-piece Astral Voice are great choices, and they pair well with a 2-piece Shockstar Disco, which frankly is her only 2-piece choice in terms of days at least. Whether you are using a 4-piece Protopunk or a 4-piece Astral Voice, that should depend on your team as the effects are unique. For her main stats, for a crit build we are looking at crit rate in slot 4, physical damage in slot 5 and impact in slot 6. If you are playing her with Jane, anomaly proficiency in slot 4 is her better choice. Attack percent in slot 5 works as well, but it is generally slightly worse than physical damage. For her substats, we are looking at crit rate and crit damage, then attack percent and lastly flat attack or flat pen. Again, if played in an AP team, namely with Jane, anomaly proficiency over crit values is what you should prioritize. Next up are her teams. As you probably have noticed, I have glazed Neko already quite a bit. And that is because outside of Soldier Zero Anby, Neko is probably the second best team for Pulchra. However, having Mindscapes 6 on Pulchra is definitely of advantage here, more on that later. While there are other premium teams for Neko, such as Astra and Caesar, Pulchra is an extremely good free-to-play accessible choice for Neko teams and pairs really well with Lucy, making Neko Pulchra Lucy the best free-to-play team for Neko currently available. Well, Nicole exists as well and might actually be better, but she is much harder to play and keep uptime on her debuffs with, so I suppose for most players Lucy is the better and easier choice. If you have Astra, replacing Lucy with Astra makes for Neko's best team, due to Astra and Pulchra both allowing for Neko's core skill requirement to be constantly active even inside the stun window. For a full free-to-play team, Harumasa, Pulchra and Lucy will do well even if this team cannot keep up with Harumasa's premium teams. Jane does appreciate Pulchra as well and opens up another team option for her. While you will need to give up Jane's additional ability when using Pulchra, unless you are using her with Seth or Burnice, it allows for more field time for Jane. While I don't think Pulchra heightens Jane to new levels, it is another option, especially when paired with Burnice, and the team feels very nice to play as well. And that comes from me, who usually glazes crit Burnice. Piper can make use of Pulchra as well, but having Astra makes this team much nicer to play, as you will be missing out on a lot of damage otherwise. If you don't have Astra, however, Lucy will do her job as per usual. Alternatively, playing Burnice for a full-on disorder team is a great choice as well. For the last team options, Soldier Zero Anby really likes Pulchra, at least until Trigger is out. Probably, that is. If you're wondering where Eve is, honestly, Pulchra is not that great for her. Only her initial special as well as her detonation count as a hit to activate Pulchra's state. Since Pulchra grants you quick assists and Eve gains her BDSM rope through that when entering the field, the only way of triggering Pulchra's hunt state is by using Avalanche detonation. And if you have watched my Avalanche guide, shameless plug here, you do not want to trigger the detonation. This effectively means you need to trigger Pulchra state with your support such as Caesar or Lucy, and that I found to be more annoying than helpful, at least most of the time. Before we get to her pros and cons, let's quickly skip through her Mindscapes. Her Mindscape 1 and 2 exist and they increase her damage, her Mindscape 3 and 5 exist as well and increase her damage and days, and her Mindscape 4 doesn't matter. Her M6 is honestly by far her best Mindscape, not only increasing her damage significantly, but also making her buff all types of damage now instead of only the aftershock damage. If you plan on playing Pulchra outside of Soldier Zero Anby teams, this Mindscape is close to a must-have as you are otherwise giving up a lot of damage. Lastly, her pros and cons, and let's begin with her cons. She is, as I just said, pretty reliant on her Mindscape 6, at least for non-Sanby teams. Her playstyle also takes a while to get used to, but in my opinion is very fun to play. For her pros, she is very fun to play. She also is a great buffer for older units such as Nekomata, especially for free-to-play players, and an alternative to units such as Jane, Piper, Harumasa or Soldier Zero Anby teams. Her weapon is great, but not too far off compared to other options, and even great at rank 0. Her investment is relatively cheap for a stunner, not requiring any levels in basic and dodge. And with that said, enjoy the showcase. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment on why you like Pulchra, and have a great day. Peace!